Revealed, my daughter's shocking call tomorrow, she's married and I've lost my car and home. Sam's heart raced as he read the words on his phone. It felt like a punch in the gut. How could this happen? Just yesterday, he was staring at empty job applications, wondering how to fill the fridge, and now his estranged daughter was getting married tomorrow. The very thought made his head spin. Memories of Ava flooded his mind, the little girl who danced in the living room, the teen who filled his life with laughter. But there was a chasm now, one he never thought could be crossed. Standing in his cramped apartment, cluttered with unpaid bills and crumbling hopes, he felt the weight of despair settle on him like a heavy blanket. His car, a rusty old Ford he took such pride in, sat idle outside, nearly out of gas and breaking down at the worst times. That car was supposed to symbolize stability, but instead, it was another reminder of how far he'd fallen. Ava, he whispered, his heart filled with a mix of love and regret. 3 years had passed since their last argument, a bitter silence that had stretched like a never-ending winter. Just when he thought he was starting to pick up the pieces of his life, she calls him with shocking news, and he was supposed to just drop everything and be there. The clock ticked ominously in the background as he considered his options. He had no way to celebrate this momentous occasion. It wasn't just about missing the wedding, it was about Ava's happiness. Why should she suffer because her father was a mess? He thought of reaching out to Joe, the neighbor who had always been there, but pride held him back like a vice. Would Joe really lend him his car? Before he could lose himself in a haze of self-pity, Sam made the call. Joe. I know this is a huge favor, but his voice caught, emotions battling within. Sam could almost feel the judgment seeping through the phone when Joe replied, of course, Sam. Just come by and pick it up. The kindness in Joe's voice reminded him of the ties that still bound them to this neighborhood, to community. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With newfound hope, Sam rifled through the pile of memories in the corner of his living room. Crumpled birthday cards, photos of a smiling Ava, her small hands covered in cake frosting, each item stirred a whirlwind of nostalgia and pain. As he fingered through them, tears welled in his eyes, not just for loss, but for longing, for the chance to make things right. Time was slipping through his fingers, and as he warmed up Joe's car, doubt gnawed at the edge of his thoughts. What if she didn't want him there? What if he was just the ghost of a father who had failed? But he had to try. This was her day, and he had to show her that he still loved her, that he was willing to bridge the gap, no matter how wide. The storm clouds gathered overhead, mirroring his anxiety. But with every mile he drove toward the wedding venue, a small flicker of hope ignited within him. Could this be the moment that changed everything? Would he find the courage to face Ava after all this time? As he pulled into the venue, a wave of uncertainty washed over him. Would he walk in as her estranged father or as someone ready to fight for their bond? The answer was just out of reach, but he was determined to find it. Sam swung the car door open and stepped out, the damp earth beneath him mirroring the storm cloud hanging over his heart. The vibrant flowers lining the pathway to the grand entrance of the venue felt like a cruel joke, reminding him of how life went on, how the world continued to spin even when your own felt like it had stopped. As he approached the bustling crowd, laughter and joy floated around him, a stark contrast to the turmoil within. He caught glimpses of elegantly dressed guests and the soft hum of a string quartet drifting through the air. Each note seemed to mock him as he walked. He thought, maybe this wouldn't just be her wedding day. In his mind, it felt like a farewell party for a relationship he should cherished more. Feeling small and inadequate, Sam hesitated just outside the entrance. The bright lights illuminated memories he had of Ava, memories of missed birthdays and dancing under the stars, crisped by years of silence. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. This wasn't about him. This was about Ava. Her happiness meant everything, and if there was even the smallest chance he could be a part of it today, he needed to seize it. That he pushed the door open and stepped inside. The cavernous hall sparkled, adorned with delicate decorations and twinkling lights, but his eye was immediately drawn to the front. There stood Ava, radiant in her wedding dress, her smile bright enough to light the darkest of rooms. It was a sight that stole his breath, clear evidence of the beautiful woman she had become. That he felt the ground beneath him shift, fear settling in as he saw the groom beside her, a tall man with kind eyes. A rush of emotions surged within him, a mixture of pride, regret, and a gnawing sadness over such a fundamental loss. Would she even recognize him as the father she had once loved? As if sensing his presence, Ava turned her head and her laughter stilled. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and Sam's heart raced as he felt a connection, a flicker of recognition against a backdrop of silence. Then she smiled, the same smile that used to light his life. It twisted the knife of guilt deeper into him. He moved through the crowd, each step heavier than the last. Whispers floated around him, guests wondering who he was. Did they see him as intruder or family? Ava? His voice was barely a whisper, a plea wrapped in vulnerability. Holding his breath, he approached her. The moment felt suspended in time, the world around them fading away. Ava, I came. I am so sorry for everything. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, her groom stepped forward, his demeanor protective. Who are you? The tension thickened, and Sam's heart plummeted. The love that had tethered him to Ava felt frail, like a thread unraveling in the wake of her new life. He fought the urge to recoil, to question everything all over again. Ava's gaze darted between the two men, confusion written across her face. In that charged moment, everything hung in the balance. What would she say? Would she turn away from him for good, or would this be the bridge they could finally cross together? As her lips parted, Sam could only hope to hear the words that could mend their shattered past. But the sound of the wedding march filled the air, leaving a lingering question hanging between them. Now, he could only wait for the answer that might define the rest of their lives. Ava's eyes widened, and for a second, time itself seemed to slow. The music continued, an echo of peace in a moment thick with conflict. Sam could see the flicker of emotions across her face, surprise, confusion, and something else, maybe hurt. With every heartbeat, the weight of his absence bore down on him like a leaden weight. Ava, he tried again, searching for the right words. They danced on the tip of his tongue but never came out. The corner of her mouth twitched, as if she wanted to smile but couldn't quite manage it. Her groom stepped closer, his steel gaze fixed on Sam. I don't think you should be here. The words dripped with authority, a protective layer shielding what he willingly thought of as his family. Sam held his ground, hands trembling slightly. The wedding march felt too loud, drowning out anything meaningful. Ava, please, he murmured, vulnerability spilling out. I just want a moment with you. Your wedding. I never thought I would. As if a dam had burst, Ava's mask shifted. You can't just show up, not now. There was hurt in her voice, a fissure that made Sam's heart ache. You left. Do you have any idea how hard it's been? The guests shifted uncomfortably, whispers of disbelief spiraling around them. Sam felt their judgment. He was the intruder, the ghost of her past crashing her celebration. But he was her father, no matter how much time had passed, no matter how many mistakes he had made. Behind Ava, the groom's jaw clenched. This isn't the time or place for whatever this is. He stood resolute, a wall blocking Sam's path, but Ava's eyes were still on her father. Let him speak, she finally said, the tension thickening between them. It felt surreal, as if Sam were trapped in a moment where nothing made sense anymore. He noticed the shimmer of her wedding ring, and an ache pierced deeper. A reminder of a future he might never have with her. I'm so sorry, Ava. Sam's voice cracked, the floodgates of emotion threatening to overflow. I never wanted to let you down. And I regret every day I've missed. You deserved so much more from me. Ava's expression softened just a fraction, but it was fleeting. You can't undo the past, Sam. Not by just showing up on my wedding day. No, I can't, he agreed, desperation spilling over. But I want to try. I want to know you, to be part of your life again. If you'll let me. A long silence stretched between them, laden with years of regrets and lost opportunities. Ava looked away, the weight of his words pressing heavily upon her. The music had shifted, now a gentle lull that clashed painfully with the tension hanging in the air. Sam's heart sank further as he saw tears glistening in her eyes. I can't just forget everything, she finally said, her voice trembling. You walked away. You let me believe I was alone. His heart broke. I thought about you every day, Ava. I hoped one day I could be part of your life again. I just never found the courage to reach out. But seeing you here, it hurts too much to stay away. The guests continued to watch, curiosity laced with concern. Sam glanced around as whispers merged into a murmur, enveloping them like a shroud. It felt suffocating. Ava inhaled sharply, her own turmoil evident now, eyes flickering between anger and longing. What do you want from me, Dad? To be the father I needed when I was growing up? Or just to ease your own guilt? A sharp intake of breath echoed in the silence that followed. Sam could feel the world narrowing down to this one moment. Would he ever be worthy of her forgiveness? Could he bring back the love they once shared, even after all this time? Before he could answer, the officiant's voice filled the space around them, breaking their fragile cocoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your places for the ceremony. Panic washed over Sam. This was the pivotal moment, and he was losing it. He had to say something, anything, to save their connection before it slipped away once more. Ava, please don't say goodbye, he implored, feeling the walls closing in around them. I don't want to lose you again. Not like this. As the guests shifted and murmurs faded into the background, Ava wrestled with her emotions, her gaze locked onto his. Just before the moment shattered, she whispered something that sent shivers racing down Sam's spine. What if tomorrow, you had to choose again? And just like that, the wedding march resumed, the weight of her words hanging in the air, leaving a heavy question lingering between them as she stepped back toward her groom, her choice unfolding toward a future he couldn't see but desperately wanted to be part of. Sam stood frozen, the world around him fading to a dull hum. The bridal march surrounded him, but all he could hear were Ava's words echoing in his mind. What if tomorrow, you had to choose again? The officiant's voice droned on, but Sam felt like he was in a vortex, spiraling down into uncertainty. He glanced at Ava, her figure retreating as she took her place beside the man who was solidifying the life Sam had thought could one day include him. The way her wedding dress draped around her felt like a shroud, signaling success without him. You need to step aside, a voice snapped, dragging him back to the reality of the moment. The groom stood rigid, a bodyguard to this life he was preparing to share with Ava. This is not your place. Sam swallowed hard. In that instant, he felt both vulnerable and stubbornly determined. I'm going nowhere, he shot back, surprising himself with the steadiness of his voice. Everything he had wanted to say for years came rushing up. How could he walk away now? Ava, he called out, desperation tightening his chest. She turned, and their eyes locked again. He could see her struggle. It was a tempest of emotions: love, frustration, fear. I need you to know I can change, that I want to be better. Not just for you, but for me. She hesitated, and in that pause, hope ignited. The officiant was addressing everyone. We've gathered here today to celebrate love and commitment. Sam felt the words cut through the air. Love, something he had once taken for granted and now desperately craved. Ava. He called out again, his voice laced with an urgency that turned the heads of the guests nearby. You're making a scene, the groom hissed, looking to the guests, who now watched with rapt attention. Then let them see, Sam replied, finally finding his courage. Let them see a father who doesn't want to lose his daughter again. Because if this is my last chance. Ava's breath caught, and the tears spilling from her eyes caught the sunlight, glistening like fragile diamonds. You had your chances, she said, but there was uncertainty rippling through her voice now. You made your choices. Yes, I did. But I can't change what's been done. All I can do is ask for another shot. I'm not perfect, Ava. You know that. But I promise to be here from now on. The crowd watched, the air thickening with emotion. Sam could see the quick glances exchanged among the guests, a mixture of shock and intrigue. Ava's groom shifted position, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. Sometimes, we want things so much that it blinds us, Ava murmured, her eyes flickering between Sam and her groom. What about him? This is the man I chose, the man who has been there for me. Pain shot through Sam at her words. I know, he whispered. And he has done good by you. But I want a chance to be there for you too. I don't want to just fade away into your past. Ava took a step back, leaning into the comfort of her groom, but the look on her face was like a mirror showing Sam the conflict brewing inside her. He wanted to pull her out of her turmoil, but all he could do was reach for her heart through shared tears and broken promises. Maybe tomorrow means something different for both of us, he said softly, trying to bridge the gap between them. Don't let this day become a goodbye. The officiant cleared his throat, signaling the end of this moment. Shall we continue with the vows? No. Sam shouted, the word trembling through the crowd like a wild flame. Every eye turned to him again, a mixture of judgment and curiosity washing over him. Let her choose. Let her understand that the past doesn't have to dictate her future. Ava looked torn, her expression wavering between anger and longing. I don't know what to say, she finally admitted. The weight of that admission hung heavy in the air. Their future was hanging by a thread, and Sam understood that every second counted. Just say what you feel, he urged, feeling the urgency spike. Ava inhaled deeply, her heart visible in her eyes. What if that isn't enough? And in that moment of haunting uncertainty, Sam realized the tale. Wasn't he just about him anymore? It was about healing, about choices, about a love that deserved a second chance. As hearts held their breath and tension mounted, Ava stood at the precipice of a decision that could alter everything, leaving unanswered questions swirling in the air. She paused, her voice breaking the silence with a whisper. What if I chose pain instead of hope? The word seeped into the crowd, sending ripples of anxiety through the guests. Sam's heart raced, knowing the moment was about to unfold in a way he could never have imagined. Whatever happened next could change everything. Would he lose her completely, or was there still hope? The crowd held its breath. Time seemed to stretch, wrapping them all in a shroud of tension. Sam felt the weight of their collective gaze like a heavy cloak draped over his shoulders. His heart thudded painfully in his chest. He searched Ava's face for any sign, a flicker of hope, anything that would suggest she was leaning toward him, but all he saw was confusion. She looked both pained and captivated by the swirl of feelings crashing inside her. What are you really asking me? She finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm asking you to choose a future filled with possibilities, not tied to old regrets, Sam replied, his throat dry and raw. I know it won't be easy. It never is. But I'm here now, standing in front of you, willing to fight for what we had, for what we could still have. Ava's eyes shimmered as tears threatened to spill over once again. You think love can just erase everything? The hurt? The disappointments? No. I'm not saying that at all. Love isn't a magic fix, but it's a start. It's a reason to fight, to rebuild. The desperation in Sam's voice intensified, and his heart raced with every word. We can be better together, Ava. We can build anew, brick by brick. Just give me a chance. The groom shifted again, impatience radiating off him. Ava, you have a life planned out, one that is stable and secure. Focus on what's right in front of you. But what if what's right in front of me doesn't truly make me happy? Ava shot back, surprising herself, her expression bold now. Sam has always been part of my past, but you were supposed to be my future. The groom's jaw clenched tight, anger simmering just beneath the surface. But Ava wasn't done. Maybe I am standing at a crossroads. But if I don't confront my past, how can I hope to move forward? Sam could hardly breathe. Each word from Ava felt like a spark striking flint, igniting a fire of possibility. Exactly. You have to choose your path, Ava. I'm just asking for the chance to be in that picture. Before she could respond, the officiant cleared his throat again. If I may, but Sam wasn't having it. He raised a hand to silence the man. No. This is important. We're not done here. This is about Ava's heart, her future. Murmurs ran through the crowd, the spectators leaning in as the drama unfolded in vivid detail. Sam could feel the shift in energy, a charge in the air that hinted at impossible choices being made. Ava looked at the groom, then back to Sam. What if I do want to explore what's left between us? But what if I end up hurting both you and him? Sam's heart raced. You owe it to yourself to find out. But it doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing decision. You can step away for a moment, consider everything. Step away. She echoed, uncertainty creeping in. From everything I've planned? Yeah, he said softly, his voice almost breaking. From that moment. Take a breath, just long enough to hear what your heart is saying. The silence that followed felt suffocating, the tension thick enough to cut. Sam watched closely, hoping for any sign that she was leaning toward him. The groom looked furious, glancing at the guests watching closely, and then the unexpected happened. Ava took a step forward, her hand instinctively reaching for her heart. I don't want to choose pain, but your words are pulling at me, Sam. Her voice was shaky, but there was a fire there now, a kindling of desire to understand. She looked torn but alive with fighting spirit. Could this be a breakthrough? Sam felt a jolt of hope amid the uncertainty. Do what feels right, he breathed. Whatever choice you make, just know I'm here for you. I've always been. Ava's gaze flickered between Sam and her groom, a storm brewing in her heart. The future that awaited her teetered on a delicate edge, and in that moment, she seemed to understand the gravity of her choice. Before she could respond, another voice chimed in from the crowd, cutting through the tense air. This should be about love, not obligation. As tensions rose, Ava's eyes widened with new clarity, and she turned toward the voice, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. It was in that pivotal moment that Sam realized, no matter what happened next, everything was about to change. What would she do? Would she choose to embrace love, or would obligation weigh her down, forever holding her captive? Ava felt the pulse of the crowd, a tide of emotion crashing around her. The weighty silence hung thick as she stood between two diverging destinies. Sam's intense gaze bore into her, an anchor pulling her closer to memories of laughter and warmth. The groom's clenched fists gripped the edge of the podium, a physical reminder of the life she'd mapped out. The sudden outburst from the crowd echoed in her mind, sending waves of confusion crashing against her resolve. What do I do? Ava thought, her heart racing, fighting against the clamor of expectations and fears. Standing at the precipice of choice, this was more than just a moment, it was everything. I know it's impossible to pretend this doesn't matter, Ava finally said, her voice trembling yet fierce. But I need to be honest with myself. I can't walk into a future if my heart is still attached to the past. The groom's gaze hardened, then softened to what looked like a mix of disappointment and anger. Ava, you're letting him sway you. We have a good life ahead, one you've dreamed of for years. Is it my dream, or our dream? She shot back, surprising even herself. The newfound assertiveness felt exhilarating, cutting through the fog of indecision. You can't seriously think going back to him is what you want, he said, voice rising. You'll regret it. Ava took a deep breath, trying to ground herself. Maybe I will. But if I don't explore this, I'll always wonder what might have been. I can't live with that kind of what if. Sam stood stiffly, heart in his throat, fighting the urge to reach for her. He wanted to tell her how much he missed her, how much she meant to him, but the words felt inadequate in the face of everything that had happened. Do you love him? The question slipped from her groom-esque lips like a curse. Or is this just a nostalgic phase? In that moment, everything felt like it hung in the balance. People shifted in their seats, whispers rippling like restless waters. The crowd was part audience, part jury, waiting for Ava to take a stand. Maybe it's both, she admitted, her resolve wavering as the honesty washed over her. But what if I just need time to figure it out? Can't you understand that? The anger in her groom-esque posture faltered ever so slightly, his face flickering between anger and concern. Ava, you really want to walk away from everything we've built? I don't know what I want, she said, tears welling in her eyes again. But I owe it to myself to find out. I can't keep living with this heavy cloud hanging over my future, clutching old decisions as if they were lifelines. In the space of her words, something finally shifted within her. She could feel the melody of her heart on the edge of a breakthrough. Then take the time you need, the groom retorted, his voice choked. But don't expect me to wait indefinitely. Please don't leave, she whispered, even as a sliver of resolve began to take root. I'm trying to understand, I'm not trying to hurt you. Ava glimpsed Sam's hopeful expression again. It was like a lifeline tossed to her from a tumultuous sea. What do you want? Sam asked softly, the urgency in his voice laced with crushing vulnerability. What does your heart say? In that instant, Ava felt the true depth of her dilemma, her heart a wild storm of confusion and longing. But just as she began to unravel her feelings, the officiant once more tried to interject, perhaps we should talk about this privately. No. Ava nearly shouted, her voice echoing off the walls. Not again. This is my moment to choose, and I won't let it slip away. With the crowd holding its collective breath, she knew that whatever choice she made next would set the course of her life. She could feel the soft pull of the past tangled with the uncertainty of the future, and suddenly, she felt a surge of clarity, but just as she gathered the strength to speak, a loud crash echoed from outside. All heads turned in confusion. What was happening now? Ava's heart raced again, the storm inside still raging. Was this yet another twist in her unfolding story? What would the crash bring? The crowd erupted into whispers, a wave of confusion spiraling through the air. Ava felt the world tilt on its axis as she turned back to her groom, whose gaze had shifted to the doors where the noise originated. The officiant was visibly shaken, adjusting his glasses and glancing toward the exit as if he expected something or someone to come crashing through. Maybe it's a mistake, Ava muttered to herself, desperate to regain her footing amid the chaos. The realization that she might not have time to decide her path felt suffocating, an invisible hand gripping her throat. What if it's just a distraction? But Sam stepped closer, eyes wide, searching hers. Whatever it is, we need to find out. We can't let this moment go without clarity, one way or another. Just as the words tumbled from his mouth, the heavy doors flung open. Gasps rippled through the crowd as a figure emerged, silhouetted against the light pouring in from outside. It was a young woman, frantic, her face flushed and breathless. Ava's heart skipped a beat as she recognized her Lily, her sister. Lily? Ava called out, her voice barely steady. What are you doing here? I didn't know where else to go, Lily gasped, her eyes darting around the crowd. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just got a call from Mom. Ava's heart sank. Her eyes widened, confusion swallowing her whole. Mom? What happened? Lily stepped forward, the urgency guiding her steps. It's bad, Ava. The house it caught fire. It's all gone. Gasps filled the room again, layered with horror and disbelief. Time hung in the air like a thick fog, impossible to penetrate. Ava felt as if the ground had vanished from beneath her feet. Her family home, filled with memories, laughter, and love now a mere pile of ash, the weight of the world seemed to crush down upon her. Here she was, about to make the most crucial decision of her life, and suddenly the gravity of her past and family tumbled in like a storm. No, it can't be, she stuttered, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes again. Mom is okay, Lily rushed to clarify, her face contorting in pain. She made it out, but it's all lost. We need you, Ava. We can't do this alone. Ava turned slowly to her groom, who stood in shock, his hands now trembling. It was as if the world had shifted again, rearranging her priorities in a heartbeat. Now, it wasn't just about her decision regarding Sam or her tangled feelings for her past. It was about family. Do you need to go? Her groom asked, his voice softer now, infused with concern. I have to decide, Ava whispered, her mind racing against an unseen clock. She could feel the urgency gripping her like a vice, forcing her to make a call. But everything's just not what I thought it was. Sam stepped closer, a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. Ava, whatever you choose, we will figure this out together, but you need to be sure of what you want. Ava swallowed hard, and the tension in the air crackled around them, the weight of uncertainty thick and heavy. The choices seemed insurmountable, and yet, in the swirl of all that had happened in mere moments, she realized she had to prioritize. Lily, she said, taking a breath. I'm here. I'll help, but I need to do this with you. But as she looked back at her groom, sorrow flared in the depths of his eyes. Could she truly sever ties with the future she envisioned? A crashing wave of emotion swept through her as she wondered, could this day, filled with impossibilities, prevent her from making a choice? Would she walk away from love when a new kind of urgency pulled her back home, the tension held, fraught with possibility, leaving Ava hanging by a thread? What would she ultimately choose as her next step? What twists awaited, just beyond the horizon? Ava's heart raced, a whirlwind of emotions battling for dominance. The ceremony, once a beacon of hope and promise, felt like a prison now, the walls closing in. She turned her gaze back to Lily, searching her sister's eyes for a sign of assurance. What are we going to do? Lily's voice trembled, her vulnerability breaking Ava's heart. Ava took a step forward. We'll figure it out, I promise. Mom needs us. The chaos around them faded, voices blurring into a muffled hum. Sam remained close, his presence a steady anchor, but his silence echoed just as loudly. She sensed his confusion, the turmoil within him likely mirroring her own. Lily leaned closer, urgency in her voice. The fire, it destroyed everything. But Mom, she's safe. That's all that matters. We need to get there. Suddenly, the gravity of their shared reality weighed heavy on Ava's chest. We have to go now, she affirmed, feeling a burst of clarity cut through the fog. I can't leave Mom like this. We have to take care of each other. Sam took a deep breath, his eyes searching hers with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. You know I'll always support you, Ava. But what? Ava cut him off, a flicker of desperation creeping into her voice. I can't stay here, not now. My family needs me. You're making a choice, he said softly, the weight of his words settling heavily between them. And I want you to know I respect that. But it changes everything us. Ava's stomach churned. I don't know what that means right now. Emotion swelled in her throat, pushing back the tears that threatened to spill over. The moment she had dreamed of since childhood, the magical wedding day, had transformed into a nightmare, forcing her to confront the reality of loss. Lily tugged at her hand. Please, Ava. We have to leave. With one last glance at Sam, Ava's heart cracked just a bit more. She rushed to the exit, her sister at her side, both propelled by the promise of home and the call of family. As they stepped into the sunlight, the warmth felt foreign, an unwelcome reminder that life went on despite the chaos swirling inside her. Ava fought against the emotions, reminding herself of her mother's strength. They hurried toward the parking lot, where their old car waited, another reminder of the life they had cherished. Ava's breath quickened as they climbed into the vehicle. "Did you call Mom?" she asked, glancing at Lily as she fumbled with her phone. "I tried, but there's no signal. I just hope she's okay." Ava nodded, steeling herself with thoughts of her mother. "We'll get there." "We have to." The engine sputtered to life, purring under the strain of their anxiety. As they pulled out of the parking lot, Ava cast one last glance at the chapel. The day marked by anticipation had frayed into something she could never have predicted. The horizon stretched before them, uncertain and jagged. "Sam," she whispered under her breath, the weight of her choices pressing heavily on her chest. The future she had envisioned felt elusive, like a mirage disappearing under the desert sun. She forced herself to focus on the road ahead. Focus on family. But as they drove away, doubt lingered like a thick shadow. What waited for them at home? Would they be able to rebuild the life they had lost before it felt too late? In that moment, Ava realized just how quickly everything could change. The world didn't care about plans, it moved forward with relentless force. Her heart thudded with uncertainty, but she wouldn't turn back. As the car sped down the highway, thoughts swirling in chaos, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that everything was teetering on the brink of something monumental. Was she ready for what awaited them at home, or the deeper revelations about love and sacrifice that lay ahead? The car's tires hummed against the asphalt, a haunting rhythm that matched Ava's racing heart. Each mile brought them closer, yet the weight of the unknown grew heavier. She glanced at Lily, whose face was a mask of worry. "Do you think she's okay?" Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ava wanted to say yes, to assure her sister that everything would be all right. But the honesty caught in her throat, lodged like a stone. "We'll find out soon," she replied, forcing a smile that felt fragile and forced. The road blurred beneath them, trees and fields flying past in a dizzying array of greens and golds. As they entered the familiar stretch leading back home, feeling of dread crept over Ava like an unwelcome chill. Would the house still be standing? What would they walk into? "Turn on the radio," Ava said suddenly, hoping for a distraction, some semblance of normalcy. As the soft notes of a familiar song filled the car, she found herself clinging to the memories it stirred. Family dinners, laughter echoing off the walls, those warm moments felt so far away now. Suddenly, Lily's phone buzzed, and her eyes widened. "It's a message from Dad," she exclaimed, her fingers flying across the screen. "What does it say?" Ava leaned closer, anxiety prickling at the back of her mind. He says they're at the community center. It's safe there." Lily's voice was a mix of relief and confusion. "Why the community center?" "Must be the nearest place after the fire." Ava nodded, her chest tightening. "We need to hurry." As they drove, more questions tumbled through Ava's mind. The fire, not just an event, but a life-altering incident that would leave scars, both visible and invisible. Her mother's home. The warm kitchen, the garden where they shared summers. All of it could be gone in an instant. Why didn't they know sooner? Her chest grew heavy with guilt, memories of how she and Lily had begged their mother to stay in, to avoid the day's chaotic plans. "If we'd just been here," Lily interrupted her thoughts. "Ava, it's not your fault. We'll understand everything soon." But fear gnawed at Ava. What if they lost more than just a house? "I can't bear to think of losing her too." The words escaped before she could stop them, raw and exposed. Lily's hand squeezed Ava's, anchoring her in the storm. Just ahead, the outline of the community center emerged. Panic wrapped around Ava's heart like a vice. "Please be okay," she whispered, urging them on. They parked hastily, hastening towards the entrance lined with worried faces and whispers. As they pushed through the doors, a wave of noise enveloped them. Families gathered, eyes filled with relief and sorrow all woven into the fabric of worry. "Mom!" Ava called out, scanning the crowd, and then, there she was, Ava's mother, sitting on a folding chair, a blanket draped around her shoulders. When her mother looked up, her eyes gleamed with both love and pain. "Ava!" "Lily!" Before they could reach her, an emergency worker stepped in, a concerned look on his face. "You need to stay back for a moment. We're assessing everyone." Ava's heart sank as the distance between them stretched. She caught her mother's eyes, and in that moment a silent communication passed between them, a storm of emotions. Ava wanted to run to her, but dread held her rooted in place. What had she lost? What lay ahead of them that could never be repaired? As the worker turned, Ava's throat tightened. She needed to ask, to know more, but the words didn't come. "Are you okay?" Lily whispered as they stood together, both teetering between hope and fear. Moments felt like hours as they awaited answers. Would their family come through this? Or was this just the beginning of a more profound struggle? The air felt electric with uncertainty, as they all held their breath waiting for a sign that everything wouldn't fall apart. And then, from the back of the room, came a booming voice, a mixture of panic and authority. "We need to start a roll call to make sure everyone is accounted for." In that instant, the enormity of it hit Ava like a wave. What else had they lost? And could they all still stand together? As their mother's gaze turned the corner toward the crowd, Ava felt an unsettling chill. What did she not know? A thought flickered into her mind, one that threatened to shatter the fragile hope they were clinging to. What secrets lay hidden behind the walls of their lives, and would they be strong enough to face them? Ava's heart raced as she took in the scene around her. Families huddled together, anxiety etched on every face. Her eyes locked onto her mother's, who exuded a strength Ava had always relied on, despite the weariness that shadowed her features. At that moment, she felt the weight of responsibility shift. The burdens they carried were no longer hers to bear alone. "Mom! Are you okay?" Ava called, pushing through the crowd. Her voice trembled, a flood of emotions threatening to spill over. "I'm fine, sweetheart," her mother replied, her voice cracking. But there was a haze of exhaustion in her eyes that Ava hadn't seen before. "Just a little shaken." Lily joined them, wrapping her arms around their mother, pulling her close. "We thought we'd lost you," she whispered fiercely. "We're here now." Ava stepped back, giving them both space to share this moment. As she watched them embrace, her heart tightened. Fire and chaos had brought them here today, yet deep down, she felt a sliver of clarity forming within the chaos. "Mom, what happened? How did it even start?" she asked, her voice steady now, driven by determination. Her mother took a deep breath, glancing around the bustling room before she spoke. "A faulty wire from the refrigerator, apparently. The fire spread quickly, too quickly." Her eyes drifted momentarily, haunted by the vivid memory. "But everyone is safe. That's all that matters." The room felt smaller and bigger all at once. Here they stood, in the midst of their shattered past. It was overwhelming, yet it triggered something deep inside Ava, a spark ignited by shared survival. "We'll rebuild, Mom. We'll find a way. Together." The words sprang from her heart, solidified by her surroundings. Before her mother could respond, Ava felt a familiar presence behind her. Sam stepped forward, his expression earnest and solemn. "If you need any help, I'm here," he offered quietly, sincerity in his voice. Ava looked at Sam, this man she had known as her father, and yet, amid the chaos of the day, he had also been the vulnerable figure willing to fight for their bond. "Thank you." The words floated between them, suffused with gratitude. They weren't just about him but carried the weight of potential healing for both of them. As her mother acknowledged Sam's gesture with a nod, Ava turned to her sister. What do we do first? She sought direction, a plan to navigate the uncertainty surrounding them. We have to find a temporary place to stay, Lily suggested. And we should contact Dad. We need his support. Ava's heart sank briefly at the thought, but it didn't take long for her fierce determination to rise up again. Let us gather everyone, talk to the community center staff. They might have resources available, Ava said, her voice gaining momentum as it filled the space around her. The passengers of chaos were now transforming into a united front of resilience. Just then, the emergency worker who had been assisting earlier approached, clipboard in hand, concern etched across his face. I've gathered most of the families together. We'll take a roll call to assess everyone. If you could assist us in identifying any families. Ava felt a rallying urge surge through her. I can help, she said immediately, and before she could change her mind, she stepped forward. She needed to be useful, to not just be swept along by fate's chaos. Lily joined her. We'll help with the names. Mom, you stay close by, she said, shooting her mother a reassuring smile as she began to collect a few lists. The frantic energy around them began to settle as they decided to work together as a team. As names were called, more and more families stepped forward, relief washing over their faces as they connected with each other amidst the uncertainty. Ava noticed the warmth in their interactions, the shared strength that arose from discomfort. It was a reminder that love flourishes in adversity, one shared moment at a time. After the roll call, a sense of calm settled in the community center. The emergency worker announced that most of the attendees were accounted for and safe, giving Ava and her family a moment to breathe. They huddled closely together at a table, taking in the faces of each other. These were her grounding forces. Mom, Ava began, about the house we don't know what it will take to rebuild, or if we'll have to find a new place, but we'll face it together. She couldn't shake the feeling that the past was an anchor they could cut and redefine. Her mother chuckled lightly, despite the tension. You're right. All that matters is that we're here. Together. Even under these circumstances, Ava could see the glimmer of hope in her mother's eyes. So, Lily interjected, a hint of mischief in her tone. What if we throw a real housewarming party once everything's back together? It's a perfect way to celebrate our survival, friends and family, just like always. That sounds wonderful, her mother replied, laughter in her voice, the warmth of family enveloping them like a safety net. Ava felt the tension ease slightly, an almost palpable shift in energy. Sam stood to the side, watching the exchange. Ava caught his eye, gratitude in her heart for the support he offered just by being there. In that moment, she realized something vital. This was about more than rebuilding a home. This was about rebuilding bonds, connections that could mend or renew. Whatever happens, Ava announced brightly, addressing both her family and Sam, we'll make new memories. One small step at a time. Family is everything. And as those words hung in the air, Ava felt the flicker of change, a new sense of purpose igniting within. What lay ahead was uncertain, but she finally understood that even amid chaos, love would always find a way to shine through. The air filled with a shared sense of resolve, glimmers of laughter sparked in the eyes of those who had suffered loss yet found strength in unity. Together, they would confront whatever awaited them, not just as survivors but as a family who could learn, heal, and love anew. In that moment, Ava chose hope. And she embraced the possibility of future tomorrows, each one a chance to redefine their story anew. Days would be tough, but as they faced what lay ahead, one thing emerged clearer than ever: they would build anew, stronger together. So, cheering for the journey ahead, Ava gently squeezed her mother's hand. Let us do this together. And with hearts renewed, they stepped into a future blooming with new beginnings. Now is the time to join this journey. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire hope and resilience. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the stories that touch your heart. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this transformative ending. We want to hear from you. This is the moment to show your support by sharing instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share what could change someone else's life.